Hello, everybody, and welcome to the last Fuel the Conversation podcast. It's a podcast for fuel people, by fuel people, and I almost messed it up. Exciting podcast. I'm glad everyone is joining to watch this very special podcast. Kyle and I have been doing the podcast for very long. We'll get into the details soon, but we're excited to meet with all of you and have this very last podcast. So, Kyle, this is the last time you're going to hear me say this. How are you doing today, man?
Oh, it's a wonderful day. It always is a wonderful day when we get to take some time out and record our thoughts and bring guests on and network with them and bring industry news and RCC news and everything else that we've done with this podcast. It's definitely morphed and built and grown from those humble beginnings in the kitchen cafeteria of mentioning, hey, it would be really cool if we did some sort of podcast as we were trying to figure out ways to better communicate with our customer base. And, we had all this industry knowledge and industry experience and all these things that were just built into our heads over the years, just dying to get out. And this was
Mhm.
the platform that we used. And I'll say it may not be buy forever, but it's buy for right now, right?
Yep, yep, and that's the key thing to take away from this. And we'll get to the reasonings shortly, but I remember those conversations too about we should start a podcast, and it was just audio, and that's all it was to begin with. And I remember buying all the equipment, and we started doing just audio podcasts, and two of them that stand out for me, and you can talk about a few of yours too, but it was at the expo live at the North NPGA Southeastern Expo. And where were we? Was it
I think
Nashville?
that was Atlanta. I think that
Atlanta.
one was Atlanta. Nancy Coop had just
Nancy Coop.
been elected into the Hall of Fame. So whatever her Hall of Fame year was, that's the year we did a podcast live on the trade show floor with Nancy Coop and Sue Peterson.
And Sue. Yep, yep. And I remember that, and that grew from there. And everyone that saw it were walking by asking what we were doing because we were kind of the first people doing podcasts in the industry.
Yep.
And it was incredible to hear how much traction it got. And even when we went and attended the NPGA benchmarking council meetings, we flew our equipment with to have a conversation with Chad Craning from Belky Bottled Gas in our hotel room. So, I mean, how did it go from that to where we're at now, Kyle?
Oh man, well, just even those first couple that first year or so, it seemed to be destination style podcasts, right? Because I completely forgot about the benchmarking one, and then we did one at my wedding. We had
Yep.
all the groomsmen in the back room getting ready, and in comes my dad and me and you do a. It was we had to because that was the only time we were going to see Brian for the
Yep.
entire year. He had
And
just got.
the music was playing overhead.
Yeah, they turned the music on halfway into our podcast. So, man, but how it's grown over the years is we've went from that audio only style to bringing in guests to maybe doing a couple just me and you. Definitely destination based because it was so easy to just bring that case everywhere we went. I think we brought it to a couple where we didn't even get a chance to break it out. Right, we brought it with, and we said, "Well, maybe we'll do a podcast," and then we never did. And I think the other favorite one I had from that audio only beginnings was bringing it to the customer seminar that first year. And remember, we had a sign up sheet. I think we did 14
Yeah, it was
podcasts with
nonstop.
our customers. That was awesome. That was really the first time I'd heard some of the stories to some of these individuals I'd talked to for many years. They kind of got to break down some of those barriers and ask questions that you don't normally get to hear and ask in a normal support call setting. And then
Hmm.
a couple years after that, we decided to push you as you grew your podcast base because it wasn't just RCC's Field of Conversation anymore. You had Through the Leadership Lens and maybe a couple more that we're working on here. And through those experiences, you brought in the video portion of our podcast and the platform to launch it into that. And I remember, just trying to figure out how this works and what tools we can use because it was fresh to us. We'd never done a podcast. We don't, we're a type of company that we're going to get in waist deep and try to tread the water a bit and figure out how we navigate this area. And I'll say we hit a couple, low points where the water almost seemed to come above our heads, but we
Mm-hmm.
made it through and we navigated those as best we could. And I feel like now where we're at, it just seems natural that the podcast has been off the ground. We're ready to move on to the next big thing and put a
Mm-hmm.
pause for a moment on this. And that pause may be permanent, that pause may be temporary. We'll figure it out as we navigate the other waters of where we're going to go. So I have loved where this podcast has come from. Starting with just that audio, moving into the video portion, becoming more guest centric. We did a few podcasts where it was just me and you coming back from a show and going, hey,
Mm-hmm.
here's the things that we hear, here's the information that we have. And it's definitely become more of a let's bring other people on that can speak directly to that information. It's been really fun.
Yeah, and it definitely grew. Personally for me, I was reached out by Jessica Johnson, now working for the NPGA, to say she ran across our podcast and would like to know if I would like to do one for women in propane. And of course, I jumped on that. And 2.5 years later, 3 years later, myself and Bridget Kidd, the other co host, she stepped down. And now Jessica Balderston, RCC co owner, obviously everyone should know that. She's now a co host with me on Through the Leadership Lens Women in Propane podcast. So our little idea, which was audio only, which grew into video, which grew into me being on another podcast, which grew Jess to be on another podcast. It just blossomed. And that's the growth that I think when we first sat down, we never knew would happen. We did this for education. We wanted to educate our customers. And then it turned into vendors wanting to be on our podcast, uh, the chairman of the NPGA Benchmarking Council. It just kept growing and growing and growing. And all of a sudden, our growth was something we couldn't even predict of all this excitement. And like Kyle said, there's other exciting things that are in the works right now that we'll be excited to tell you about once we get off the ground running with it.
Yep, absolutely. And I think it's not just the podcast that's grown. It's been fun watching how our communication out to our customers has improved. This was a launching point for some of that. We sat down and said, how do we communicate better as an organization out to our users? And we said, well, let's start with a neutral podcast, right? We can go to what are the pain points in the industry, how do we bring those to light, and then how do we adapt into that issue. And it's grown into building your business and feature focuses and email blasts and redoing our customer web portal. All these things weren't necessarily triggered by Feel the Conversation, but kind of came through that and went, we have to evaluate how we communicate to people, right? We have to get in front of people, whether that's into their headset, into their morning podcast routine when they're driving to work, or whether it's taking an hour of their time to sit in front and listen and watch a video. And this is one of those platforms we used for that. And we have so many more platforms out there that are now more specific to RCC, the product offering, what we can do to better your business, to help you grow, to make you more efficient, that this seemed like a natural time to go, all right, this podcast has reached and achieved its goals. And we're going to go and look at what are some of the other goals that are outside of there and free up some of our time.
For sure. And switching gears a little bit, I remember one of the funniest episodes. I might say weirdest too, was when we were doing just the audio again, just audio only, and it was me, you, and Abby Thurston, another co-owner, and I don't know if Jess Balderston was with us or not as a guest, but Abby's daughter Mara heard us talking and walked in, and we're like, "Well, since you're here, welcome to the podcast." And I think we did like a half a segment with her, and we
Yep.
asked her all the tough questions, and she did a fantastic job answering them. But I remember like that conversation, and it just she just walked right in like she owned the
Yep.
place. So I don't know if you have another story to share, like the funniest or oddest moment, other than the the music playing at your wedding where we're trying to
Yeah,
do a
that was
podcast with
probably my
your
honest moment. I thought I was in control of my wedding, but when you're in it, you're never in control of your wedding. Let's all be honest with each other. You just go with every flow that's out there. And we had a silent room when we started, and we were a couple hours early, so we were all planned out. My wife didn't know, which was even better, so I didn't have to get into an argument. I could argue after, right? That was the first argument we had as a married couple, was working while I was getting dressed for my wedding. And all of a sudden the music turns on, and it's full
Yep.
blast too.
And
It's
it
not
was loud. It
quiet.
was loud.
Yeah, it was like party started. Here we go. Time to end the podcast and get on with the proceedings here. But that was probably one of the oddest ones I think I've done. The other one I'd say is working through all the background noise at the
Yeah.
trade show, right?
Yeah.
Of trying to, and we were handling all these in the flow, right? It was all right. Well, we got this now, and we had to do a lot of um, editing, a lot of first take, a lot of pausing. And what I found as we progressed through it, and one of the things I really loved, was at the start of every podcast, we tell our guests, if you mess up, it's okay. Take a break, pause for 10 seconds, and then restart what you're saying. And what I found is we haven't had to do a lot of edits.
Mm-mm.
We've done a lot of one take podcasts, and probably way more one take podcasts than we had to edit something out that somebody said.
Yeah. And using internet and microphones and headsets has been brilliant. There's been a lot of times where the battery died on our sound recording equipment, or the SD card is full, or they magically walk away and we can't find them. So we made a lot of trips to Walmart, or whatever the closest place was to buy SD cards and batteries. But I remember carrying that briefcase around, and everyone always asked me, like in TSA airports or whatever security I'm going through, what's in the box? And I'm like, podcast equipment. And they're just like, what? And I'm like, recording equipment, audio recording equipment. And I think got searched all the time. And I think that's where a lot of our SD cards and batteries ended up. Who knows? But that was
Private
most
TSA
challenging.
finding.
Yeah, it
Yep,
was the most challenging piece of it. I was lugging that thing around. And now with technology, we can do podcasts from anywhere with internet and a computer, which is just awesome.
brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Really, really cool to watch the technology grow as we had that idea as well, and how we leveraged that. And I am not an audio visual editor, but I had to take the crash course when COVID came around, and we had
Mm-hmm.
to do a virtual style seminar. And the way the platform worked is you put videos in there. Yep, I took my crash courses there, and they definitely helped me coming into this experience, that I was able to kind of do some of that editing on ourselves before. And then eventually we grew to the point where it said, these are becoming too much to get out on a regular basis if it's going to fall onto mine and your shoulders. So that's where we reached out. We actually found a contract worker that
Yep.
edits a lot of our videos, and then turning it over to our marketing team to do a lot of that now too. So, just
That's
that
right.
growth of us having to realize that it was becoming more than what two people could do as the host. We couldn't do it all. We couldn't be host and producer and editor and publisher. We had to find the right people to do that. So we do have a little team behind this whole podcast from where it started, just me and you.
Yeah, and if you can do a quick buttons, bubbles, introduction somewhere around here, huge shout out to Nancy Matheson for organizing all of our podcasts. Huge shout out to Vivid Image for all their editing work and their social posts and the Facebook posts. It was a team effort for sure, and that's what made this so much fun, was the ability to do something that we truly love to do without having all the work on Kyle and my shoulders. So a huge shout out to and even the RCC family for giving us the bandwidth and the resources to do these podcasts. So I want to say thanks, Kyle, for starting this journey. It's continuing to grow, even though that this right now is being paused, but it's not done. And I'm excited to see where it takes us, RCC.
Absolutely. And I want to thank you too, Freddie. You've been a tremendous host for us here on Fuel the Conversation, getting all the information out, finding great people and bringing them in to join us on our podcast. We've made a great pair throughout the years in this venture we've taken together. And it was just the start, right? We're here for a
Mm-hmm.
lot longer, doing other things and putting our efforts into high impact areas that we can really leverage and get more information out to people. So I hope that everyone has taken something that's listened to this podcast. All the episodes are out there to listen back all the way, even to the wedding one, to any of those episodes we talked about. They're all out there to be able to listen and join in our fun and share a laugh with us here and there, if you want to. But this has been truly an amazing event to watch unfold, to get it to where it has, and to now watch you take that and replicate it on the industry scale and bring it to more people and get it into more ears. It's going to be awesome to see where you go.
Absolutely. Thanks, Kyle, for all that. And stay tuned. There's more coming, everybody. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you for joining Kyle and Freddie's podcast, Fuel the Conversation.
A podcast for fuel people by fuel people. We really hope you enjoyed today's topics and you found them interesting, and we hope that you pulled some value out of our conversation today.
To hear more podcasts from Kyle, myself, and special guests, you can catch us on Spotify, Amazon Music, or the iTunes Store.
To find out more information on RCC, you can visit our website, www.rccbi.com. You can also find us on Facebook under Rural Computer Consultants, also under LinkedIn under Rural Computer Consultants, or go ahead and give us a follow on Twitter at RCCInc79.
If you'd like to contact us directly, email us at sales@rccbi.com.
This is Kyle signing off.
And this is Freddie.
Until next time.